Hey everyone, welcome to Color Palette Dot Along. Today I'm going to be using the Summer Sunflower palette that you see up in the corner. And our Color Palette Dot Alongs, when I do these, I don't have a pre-planned design. I'm just using the color palette as inspiration and kind of winging it. So there are lots of different ways you can use this color palette. Feel free to make your own design. You can change my design. You can do all sorts of stuff. You can embellish it differently. You can top dot differently. So the idea here is just to take a color palette that we have not tried or have not used before and see where it takes us. So this one is called Summer Sunflower. If you don't have the exact colors, that's fine too. Just use what you have. I've got Moon Yellow, which is a really light pastel yellow. Of course, you can just add white to one of your yellows, but Moon Yellow is a really pretty color. I've got Cadmium Yellow. I've got Spiced Pumpkin. I've got New Leaf. And then for my background, I used Teal Mint. And then we're also going to use some black. So usually when I dot, I like to have a black background, a neutral background, but today I really wanted to try something different and shake it up. And so I used the Teal Mint for my background, and I've got my other 5 colors set out here: Moon Yellow, Cadmium Yellow, Spiced Pumpkin, New Leaf, and black. All right, so I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing as I do it. And if you are dotting along with me, feel free to give it a try. We are going to start with our center dot, 8 millimeters, and black. And because it's called Summer Sunflower, I might just stick with that and try something kind of sunflowery. All right, I'm going to get my 1 millimeter tool and I'm going to use New Leaf. I'm going to do a ring of dots around this center. I'm going to aim for 16. So I'm going to do top and bottom, left and right. That gives me 4, and I'm just going to keep cutting that in half. So this is 1.5 millimeters New Leaf. So now I've got 8, and I'm going to put 1 dot in between each of those for a total of 16 1.5 millimeter dots. I'm going to make another ring. This time I'm going to offset the ring, which means I'm going to go in between. I'm going to use a 2 millimeter stylus. And black. So I'm going to end up with 16 dots again. Two millimeters with black, 16 dots. going to keep going with this ring. I'm going to use 2.5 millimeters and new leaf. And do a ring of dots. These end up on the lines. So again, these are offset. I'm going to grab my 3 millimeter tool. I'm going to create another ring of 16. These go in the spaces. Next, I'm going to get a 4 millimeter tool. I'm going to make another ring with new leaf. This is going to be tighter as we work our way out. I'm getting quite a bit bigger. So 4 millimeters, these go on the lines, 16 of them. And because sunflowers have a very large center, I'm going to do one more ring, 5 millimeter, except this time instead of switching to black, I'm going to stick with the new leaf green. These go in the spaces, 5 millimeters. right, next we're going to create some petals, some sunflowery petals. All right, I'm going to use my 6mm tool and the spiced pumpkin. These dots are going to be offset every other line. So let's see. In between, skip one, in between. I'm going to see what this looks like doing 8. I think I might go 16. This orange looks really pretty up against this teal background. Yeah, I'm going to go 16. All right, so instead of every other line, I'm going to do every line. Do what feels right for you. Again, this is always just about experimenting with the color palette. Yeah, that feels a little more sunflowery, I think. All right, I'm going to get a 2mm tool. I'm going to use the Cad Yellow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a center dot, and then I'm going to swipe on each side. So first I'm going to do all my center dots with my cadmium yellow. 2mm. I'm going to go down to 1.5mm. You could use your 2. I'm going to go to 1.5. And then I'm going to swipe on each side. One on the right, one on the left. My paint's a little gloopy. I'm just mixing it up a little bit. All right. Swipe right, swipe left. Swipe right, swipe left. right, next I'm going to grab my 2.5 millimeter tool. My paint is just glippy gloppy. All right, 2.5 millimeters. I'm going to use that moon yellow. This time I am going to do a center dot and walk the dots on each side. So I'm going to do my centers first in 2.5 millimeters. This is bringing me to the third ring on my stencil. All right, 2.5 millimeters, center dot with that moon yellow. And then I'm going to get my 2 millimeter dotting tool and I'm going to walk the dots. That's feeling a little tight. You may want to go down a size if you haven't started yet. 1.5. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal. It's just looking a little clunkier than I would have liked. A little clunky, but I think it'll be okay in the end. All right, I'm going to go back to the 2.5 millimeters and the cad yellow. I'm going to add one more dot in the center. We're going to do a dot and a swipe. All right, that was 2.5 millimeters. I'm going to go down to a 2 millimeter. Same color, cad yellow. I'm just going to swipe these petals. I'm really liking the orange and yellows up against that teal mint. That's really pretty. All right, let's see. I'm going to use my 6mm tool again. This time, instead of just having a dot in the middle, I'm going to do a teardrop, I think. So I'm going to need a stylus tool. I'm going to use my spiced pumpkin. And then in the spaces, I'm going to place a dot. I'm going to do a couple at a time. And then we're just going to pull that into a teardrop shape. We're going to do that all the way around. So there's going to be 16 of those. Make sure you leave room to pull it into the teardrop. So I'm not going real close. I'm going out a little bit so that we've got room for the shape. All right, I am liking that. Still feels very sunflowery. All right, 2.5 millimeters. I'm going to go for the Cad yellow center dot, and I'm going to swipe on each side, but I'm going to do my center dot first. All right, gonna swipe on each side. I'm using my 2mm stylus for that. I'm gonna do both sides, but I'm gonna do all of one side first. I tend to do a little better when I do that. All right, I'm gonna grab my 3mm for a center, we're gonna do a dot crown. Well, no, I'm just gonna do a center dot. Okay, so moon yellow, 3mm center dot. That was 3mm moon yellow, and then I'm going to get my 2mm tool and we're going to walk the dots on each side. Again, I'm going to do all one side and come back and do the other. I tend to do better that way. All right, now I'm going to do what I was thinking before. I'm going to use my 3mm tool and that cad yellow, and I'm going to do a triple dot crown that brings me right to the edge. So 3 dots, 3mm, cad yellow. All right, next I'm gonna add 4 green leafy things, kind of going with the sunflower motif here. So I'm gonna get my 4mm tool. I'm gonna do my north, south, east, and west, and I am gonna go kind of in the middle with green dots, and I'm gonna make them into pins. I'm gonna do all 4 first. All right, so you can see I did my north, south, east, and west. I'm just gonna get a thin stylus and pull these inward into a pin. So only 4 of those. And then I'm going to use my 3mm tool. I'm going to add a dot on the top, and I'm going to swipe on each side. So 3mm dot. And then I'm going to pull a swipe on each side of the green. with, I'm sorry, 1.5 millimeter swipe. I went down in size for that so that it would fit. All right, now I'm thinking about top dots. I like how this turned out. I wish I would have used brown instead of black. That's my only complaint about this color palette, but you don't know until you try. I'm going to do some top dots here, and so around the inside on this, where we've got these canyon, what was this, spiced pumpkin color, I'm going to do a 2 millimeter, 3 millimeter with the cad yellow, my darker of the yellows. And I'm going to go around and do a top dot. It's 3 millimeters, cad yellow. And then these are still a little wet, so I am just going to dry them quickly so I can do a top dot while I'm on camera. All right, and for this one, let's see, I'm going to do 4 millimeters, and I'm going to use that moon yellow. All right, there's something about this green that is not sitting right with me, so I'm going to mix some of this new leaf into my moon yellow until I get a lighter green. Yuck. That's not working. Let's see if I add, all right, I'm going to do this the other way. I'm going to add cad yellow to new leaf. Let's see what we come up with there. That's a little bit better. New leaf and moon yellow really turn into like this grayish green. I am not feeling it. But cad yellow and new leaf, I like. All right, so yeah, this when I added new leaf to that moon yellow, it really turned kind of grayish. I don't like that. So I'm going to use this. This was cad yellow and new leaf. And I'm going to do, I've got my 3 millimeter tool, I'm going to top dot these center dots, and I'm just going to use my 3mm and dot, 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 dot. And I'm just going to do the 2 outer rings in the center here. That just brightens up that green a little bit. It was hard to see. I'm not going to deal with the small ones. I think those are fine. And then I am going to pull a swipe here in these little green petally things. So I'm going to get maybe a 2mm stylus. And I'm just going to pull some of these did not work so well. There we go. So that just brightened those up a little bit. I think I am finished. The last thing I'm going to do is grab my 4mm tool and that green mixture. I'm going to add a top dot in the center. I was a little worried about this once I got started, how the colors would play together, but I like it. It's very sunflowery, so I'm going to let this completely dry. Once it's dry, I'm going to wipe off my grid marks, and then I'm going to varnish it, and it's actually going to turn into a cute little jewelry box. So there you have it. There's the Summer Sunflower Color Palette. Let me know if you try this in the comments. I would also love to see what you make. I'd love to cheer you on. So if you do try this, share with me in my Facebook group, which is Mandala Artist USA. Or you can just tag me on the socials at Teralyn Pugh Artist, and I will see it. Feel free to experiment and play with the color palette. That's the whole point of these color palette dot-alongs. It's just a little bit of dotting practice, trying a new color palette and seeing where it takes us. This one was kind of fun. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back in 2 weeks to do another color palette dot-along. See you then. Bye, everyone.